Hola mi gente, Ish here. Mira, if there's one thing we all hate in South Florida, it's dealing with el tremendo tráfico. I mean, we're always stuck in super congested, pollution-causing traffic in our single-occupant vehicles. Bueno, we're here to tell you about the Velocia app that not only encourages using public transit and other mobility partners to promote greener and less congested communities, but rewards you for doing it. The Velocia app, that's VELOCIA, is partnering with Miami-Dade County to promote safe ridership on mass transit. Every time you ride Metrobus in Miami-Dade during off-peak hours, you can receive Velos points, which can be redeemed for perks, including Lyft and Uber credits. You can also earn Velos by answering daily surveys or referring a friend to the app. Así que download the Velocia app today if you're in the Miami-Dade County area, either for iOS or Android. The only thing better than helping the environment and avoiding traffic is being rewarded to do it.
Hi, people. This is DJ.
This is Ish.
And this is Season 3 of Pero Let Me Tell You. You know it's so good. Okay, remember when you were a kid and you would drink el jugo de pera de Goya?
Yes, in the little can.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Did you ever pour it in a glass with ice?
Yes,
and
of
this
course.
is similar to mango juice.
Yeah.
It takes so long to get cold.
Yeah, it does. Oh my god! I didn't think about that ever until right now, and
it's
it
so
came
funny
to
because
me.
like when you put the ice in it and you wait a minute and you start drinking it, like you could feel like the hot and the cold,
Yeah.
cold.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I've always known that. Por eso jugo de mango, because pera juice I don't drink that much, but jugo de mango that's thicker. I always
Have to refrigerate it.
I refrigerate it, or like if I want to have one, I'll put it in the freezer.
But like right,
You know,
so like
for
take it out
for like 20 minutes,
Right.
para que se ponga bien frío. Porque cuando tú le pones hielo a eso, it doesn't get cold right away.
I wonder why.
Because it's probably very thick.
No, but okay, jugo de mango is very thick, pero una pera.
Yeah, pera nectar.
I mean, pear is not thick.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're starting. Pero let me tell you.
I mean, there's no pulp.
What is your favorite Goya juice?
There's no. There's no pear pulp.
Wait, what episode are we on? 120?
129.
129. Oh my! I feel we've been in the 120s forever.
Forever, but I think that's how people feel about 2020 in general.
Yeah, we're in the 20s. Yeah.
like it's apropos. It's just appropriate for this flipping year.
How is everybody doing on this wonderful Friday?
Oh, I think
It's October.
It's October. Oh my god, I had time to trick or treat. Spooky Halloween.
I love that meme. It's been around for a while of people waiting for fall, and it's a picture of Sigourney Weaver with a pumpkin.
Sigourney Weaver.
You've never seen it?
Sigourney Weaver, or Jamie Lee Curtis.
No, Sigourney Weaver with a pumpkin. You've never seen it?
No, because in my mind it's like if it's Jamie Lee Curtis, it makes sense because she's in the Halloween movies.
No. It's even already a thing on Google. Sigourney Weaver with a pumpkin. It's a meme. It's a meme.
Oh, that picture. Okay, I know a picture. Yeah, que está todo reclinada.
Oh, that picture of Sigourney Weaver with a pumpkin?
Because for some reason when you said I just automatically went to Halloween, but like I've seen that picture. Está todo reclinada.
What else did you think about when I said Sigourney Weaver with a pumpkin?
Listen, you know what? It's been a long year. Okay.
I mean, because that picture, there's nothing else going on in that picture other than Sigourney Weaver with
reclining
a
on a
pumpkin.
pumpkin. Qué sensual está con la calabaza.
And you know what? Tú sabes que se enfría bien rápido. Now that I'm thinking about it. El jugo de melón.
I was gonna say jugo de calabaza.
No, el jugo de melón. El jugo de melón is really fast. El jugo de piña.
Manzana is like that.
Manzana too. Pero sí, pera juice.
And mango. But they're so not similar.
Because
mango's very fibery.
Fruit. It's not the fruit. It's the like, especially like Goya and all these Hispanic brands. They use like the nectar, so it's like really
it's thick. It's like syrupy.
Yes, it's thicker.
But Coke is syrup, and it doesn't take that long.
The mango juice, like I ido en it's so funny because in CVS, the CVS Imas, which you know it's a hybrid of them in Navarro.
Yeah.
They sell those little glass mango juice jars for $1.
Ooh.
So I always buy like 10 of them.
Right, of course.
And I'm like, I know there's no mango juice in the CVS in Wichita.
And I don't care.
They'll be like, Karen, what is this mango juice?
Where did you get mango juice?
You can make juice out of a mango? Where do we even get mangoes in Kansas?
Is that from that one aisle in the supermarket?
It's from the exotic.
The ethnic aisle?
The ethnic international aisle. Mango juice. Who knew there was mango juice?
Oh, Karen.
And Karen will be like, oh, yes. I heard those exotic Latino people.
I know. I bought it along with my picante.
And my salsa.
Oh, Lord. Well, that concludes Juice Corner.
Okay. So let's go to something a little more stale and dry.
Oh, but just as thick.
So, que me dice of the debate?
You mean the national shit show that was televised?
Okay.
Because that was a dumpster fire.
Okay. Before we talk about the debate, in England, there's that show Good Morning London or Good Morning
Their
Britain.
version of GMA.
Yeah.
Right.
That I forget their names. That's with like this blonde younger girl and this guy.
Yeah.
Okay, have you seen the video of them cracking up?
No.
You haven't?
That
went viral a few years ago. So it's a show, listeners.
Oh, wait. I thought you meant cracking up of the debate on the debate.
No, it's a show.
Okay.
It's a show. It's like the Today version. Actually, I think it's called Today.
It might be. I know there's one. I know in Australia there's a Today as well.
And I watch this sometimes. I catch it on YouTube because celebrities go there.
Yeah.
So if you want to see a certain interview,
yeah.
just like Graham Norton,
Right.
And the hosts a couple of years ago, they were talking about something, and they started cracking up.
Okay, I know that clip you're talking about. Yes.
Uncontrollably. Like, they could not stop laughing on, that laugh that you get?
The church giggles.
The
more you try.
And you're going to throw up.
Yeah.
And this was live on television. This went on for like over 5 minutes. So that became a meme that it said when the British are watching the American debate. The next morning, the Brits watching the American debate recap.
Can we take a moment, though, to honor the valiant efforts of that moderator, of Chris Wallace? That man was doing God's work.
Yeah.
That man was doing God's work.
And I knew that Trump was going to be Trump.
But
I thought that Trump was going to be 2016 Trump.
Right.
Which was bad enough. But this was like
No, because now he's emblazoned. He's embrazened.
This was like Trump 2016 on roid rage.
Right. I'm saying now he's like, he's emboldened. That's what I was looking for. He's emboldened. Yeah.
He was like, I'm going to break some shit here tonight.
I mean, it was like watching a Limp Bizkit video.
Yeah.
Chris Wallace?
Chris Wallace.
Chris Wallace deserves a medal.
So let me ask you something. Because this
I didn't even watch it all the way through.
I watched the whole. Well, I had a viewing party.
Could not.
So this is my question to you. So obviously, going into the debate, there had been a lot of concern that Joe Biden, Sleepy Joe,
right, he was gonna be a pushover,
stamina, and all that. Do you think in a case where your opponent is Trump and he's acting the way that he's acting, how do you
approach it?
No, as a viewer and somebody who's going to vote for one of them, right? What would you be more affected by or more turned on or off, but influenced by if Joe Biden would have kept up with him and reached his level and fought back,
which is pretty much what he did.
Which has some moments,
which is pretty much what happened. I mean,
which he did. Or would you have been impressed or not impressed if he just would have not engaged?
The problem with not engaging means that for 90 minutes he would not have answered anything.
True, but then he would have made the other one look like a bigger idiot.
Right, but the problem is that then you walk away from it with people. And again, this is a very odd case where like already everybody's going into it for the most part. I'm sure there are some undecided people out there, I'm sure. But people are going into this already with like either A or B. You know what I mean? I don't think that there's still that many like, I don't know, gee willikers. If he was to just go in there and just be, again, like I said nothing, right? Because at the end of the day, he would have been very quiet if he'd let the other guy just completely run roughshod. Mm-hmm. You run the risk of them being like, see, he didn't say anything because he has nothing to say. He doesn't have any plans, right? So it's an unenviable position to be in.
Right, but the Trump people are going to say that Joe Biden blew the debate no matter what Joe Biden does,
what happened, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of irrelevant whether
But I think that's why he decided, like, fuck it. He's like, I'm from Jersey. Fuck it. Let's let's push back.
Right. I thought there were a couple of lows for me. I wasn't surprised that the Trump being Trump. That's who he is.
Right.
That's part of the Trump show.
Right.
And I don't think anybody was surprised by that, really. There were two
memorable moments.
There were two really low lows.
Okay.
The fact that he brought up Joe Biden's kids,
right?
Because Joe Biden has had, here's my thing with Joe Biden. Whether you like Joe Biden or not, or even if you like Trump or whatever, you're not voting for Joe Biden. Joe Biden historically has always been a very decent person, and he's had a significant deal of tragedy in his life,
right?
From his wife and his child dying in a car accident to his son Bo a few years ago dying of neoblastoma, brain cancer.
Right.
So he's had a lot of tragedy in his life, and he's never been a controversial figure. So he's a very decent person, even if you don't like him politically, even if you think
but generally speaking,
a terrible president, even if you didn't like him under the Obama administration. So I think that he's a hard person to attack in terms of character. And the fact that he attacked his family and he brought up his kids, and up until the 2016 election, it was an unspoken rule
that you
never bring in family. Never.
Right.
Never. And this president was the first person to bring in family in the 2016 debates when he started talking badly about the first lady, Michelle Obama at that time, but about Ted Cruz's wife.
That's right.
Because remember, he started saying that Ted Cruz's wife
was ugly
and all that stuff. That was the first time ever in American political history that a candidate, or anyone for that matter, started attacking the families.
Right.
So, he did it again. And especially him, with the amount of tragedy that he's had, I thought it was a low blow.
Well, I just don't bring family into it. That's
I think if I would have been Joe Biden at that moment, I would have stopped him and I go, you know what? You could say whatever you want about my kids, but unlike you, I'm not going to drag your kids into this.
Well, he did say something to that effect. Because I actually saw that part. He said something to the effect of, and again, this is three old men yammering on top of each other, so forgive me if I didn't hear the exact what he said. But he said something to the effect of, like, I'm not going to bring up your family because I could bring up your family or whatever. And then Trump came in and was like, "Oh, what would you just like kind of baiting him?"
That's what I would have said and just stayed quiet. Que hable toda la porquería que quiera, because again, to his people, he's gonna look like a
god no matter what.
A god no matter what, and they're gonna wet their pants over what he's doing. Because again, I always say this: he doesn't have supporters; he has followers.
It's zealotry.
It's not supporters.
It's a cult.
It's not supporters. It's followers. Because as I was talking yesterday, I was speaking to a very dear friend of mine who she is. I went to law school with her, and she is. When I tell you a hardcore Republican, she is the definition of Republican. The Republican Party. Her brothers work for the Republican Party.
Well, let me clarify. Old school Republican Party.
Well, that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
Her family. She comes from a town in Ohio that is purely Republican. When I was in law school with her, she used to fight with me all the time. Healthy fight about, she's like, I can't believe you're a Democrat. What the hell is wrong with you? Like she used to give me such a hard time, but all in good fun, Right. And she told me yesterday, because I actually hadn't spoken with her in a while, and probably before the coronavirus. So not like I hadn't spoken to her
just hadn't gotten
middle into like the election cycle.
Right.
And I'm like, what do you think about this? And she's like, look, I don't like Joe Biden. I can't stand Kamala Harris for these reasons. But she's like, I'd rather deal with a president I'd rather deal with a president that I don't care for than to deal with a president that is slowly destroying our democracy, chipping our country apart, and potentially is the person that can unravel and undo our country. I was like, wow. That is coming from a Republican that bleeds. Well, she bleeds red because it's blood, but bleeds Republican red. Bleeds Republican red.
Is that like millennial pink?
No, I don't know about millennial pink. And I was like, wow. I was like, I didn't say that. Like,
I will say, like, again, I was at my parents' house. We started watching it, and then we just paused it. And actually, my dad just started talking. 30 minutes into it, because I was on my computer, I was working on a bunch of stuff. And 30 minutes into it, I just kind of looked up, on my computer screen at the time, and I literally turned to my father. And I'm like, nada más que llevan estos viejos cacareando 30 minutos.
So
it felt like
I think
years.
Chris Wallace did the best job he could. But I think, and we agreed with this, and we put it on our Instagram, I think that in the next debate, they need to bring Ana Maria Polo.
Oh, absolutely.
Ana Maria Polo would
Mira,
have gotten
ella,
up there.
Y le da un tremendo pescozón con el martillo ese que ella tiene. Like, they said, I saw a meme, it's like, I think it'd be the first time she'd actually use that thing.
Yeah.
I would give the money I don't have.
Who do we
It's here in Miami. We need to figure this out.
Who do we need to call?
We need to figure this out.
Who do we need to call?
Listeners,
Lucy Lopez. You know someone.
Does anybody know somebody at Telemundo? I don't know. We need to figure this out.
We know somebody. Somebody that can make this happen. La doctora Ana Maria Polo,
That would be great.
She will have those men in gear. Like,
and can I tell you how I want her? I want her to enter, like, on her motorcycle.
No.
Like, no, because to show that she's tough, like, she means business. She comes in.
She can walk in a nice power suit.
No. But again, in the motorcycle, like, like off stage.
Like, gentlemen, here's my gavel. I'm famous for this gavel.
El primero que dice un disparate, cogotazo repartido.
Mm-hmm. And because you're in Miami, we can make this a little bit more local. Y te meto la chancleta. Can you imagine que ella tiene una chancleta a Trump? Well, that would be the first time a president gets thrown footwear.
That's true. True.
Bush got a shoe thrown.
Bush got a shoe. A chancleta is actually a step up.
Yeah.
There's less thing, less material, I suppose. Can I talk about one thing? I mean, I don't want to continue harping on, on the politics and the Trump of it all or whatever. Okay, regarding his tax return, right? Like, whatever. If it is true that he paid only $700, I think it's wrong, etc. Blah blah blah. Okay, fine, where. Pero tú sabes la parte que a mí, as a person who has, the ability to see and to have to spend and work for my money, you know what insults me as a human being? That dying cotton candy swirl on his head was $70,000. He spent $70,000. He deducted $70,000 for hairstylist. Oye, le cogieron el dinero.
I know. ¿Qué peluquería did that? Eso seguro fue una unisex.
Not even. Oye, una unisex por lo menos $50. Y eso te hacen rayito.
His hair is real.
Darian.
Jimmy Fallon touched it.
Okay, Darian. But $70,000 to style that?
No.
Eso yo no lo perdono. Eso es que eso no tiene respeto al dinero. I'm sorry. No.
It was $72,000.
Bueno, claro, el tip.
He should go to Supercuts. ¿Tú te imaginas que él está Supercut ahí? Ay, no entra nadie hoy.
Ay, me voy temprano.
Los tips, hoy no hay tips. Y que entra Donald Trump por ahí. He's like, Elsa, I want you to give me a cut. I want it to look huge.
Huge. You gotta the H has to be a Y.
Have a gala today. Ella, what is your Elsa? What is your legal status in this country? While we're at it.
Yeah, before you touch my $70,000 hair.
Yeah, so wait, are we gonna, like, before we wrap up the debate talk? No,
I'm not saying we can wrap it up. I'm just saying
about the white elephant in the room, the white elephant in the room.
You know what? I will. Okay, I'm gonna break that question into two parts. Like, okay, I think it's like I've said this many times on this show, and I think you agree with me. It's okay. Yes. Not denouncing something is supporting it, right? I agree with that. I don't believe that Donald Trump is a quote-unquote racist because I do not believe that Donald Trump has the convictions necessary to care about anything other than himself.
Doesn't matter.
No. But what I'm saying is, now with all that said, the reason he doesn't denounce, it's not because he's quote-unquote racist. It's just because that's his base, and he wants to stay in power. So he's not going to denounce the people who vote for him. Do you understand what I'm saying? For him, it's not about belief. It's about keeping me in power.
Okay, that may all be true, but
I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm
that
not
may
saying
all
it's
be
right.
true. But you know,
Do you? I didn't know what the Proud Boys were until this week.
yes, I did know about the Proud Boys were.
Okay, I didn't know.
I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the Proud Boys.
Okay.
There is. I've known who they are for quite some time.
Okay.
Vice News, which I watch.
I haven't seen Vice News in forever.
It's an HBO. It airs on HBO, but you can watch
not
it.
anymore. No, because they have the Vice channel, so they are only airing on their channel now.
Okay, well, I used to watch it on HBO, but now I watch it online. I'm the first one that says that. I acknowledge that Vice News leans to the left.
It's super left, yeah.
And I watch it knowing that.
Right.
And even though I consider myself a liberal, sometimes I watch Vice News and I'm like, no, that's not necessarily the way I see it.
They've taken a position.
Because that is how it's supposed to be.
Oh, stop with your logic and your inferences.
You're supposed to have rationale.
Stop with understanding things.
Right, even if it's something that you generally agree with.
Cousin Larry, don't be ridiculous.
Right? Again, that's more of a left-leaning channel, and many times I watch it, and I'm like, no, that's not exactly the way I see it.
Right.
But anyway, they did this report on the Proud Boys some time ago, which was very interesting.
So they've been around for a bit.
Yeah, they've been around for a while. And it was very interesting, and credit to them, they opened full access to her.
Was it the girl who covered Charlottesville?
No.
La rubia con los
No. Esta chiquita es Argentina.
Oh, okay.
And they embraced her in terms of her reporting. Mm-hmm. Well, in terms of what it looks like on the video. I don't know behind the scenes.
Yeah, what happened. Yeah.
But yeah, they've been around for quite some time, and most of them are Cuban.
Are they really?
Yeah, most of them are Cuban, and they're exactly what here. The Proud Boys. They're.
That sounds like a Christian boy band.
They call themselves Western chauvinists.
Like an omelet?
Right. And, the problem with these, they're considered by the Southern Poverty Law Center as a hate group.
Okay.
The problem with a lot of these really extreme kind of right-wing groups, whatever you want to call them, is that they've kind of appropriated the American flag. Think about it. When you see a big pickup truck with an American flag, what do you think of right now?
Ignorant redneck, quote
right.
unquote.
You think, oh, where's the Trump?
Right. Where's the MAGA? Yeah.
Right. Because they've appropriated the American flag.
Right.
So that's why the other day when I was part of that caravan, I'm like, oh, yeah, we need American flags here.
Oh,
we
that's
need American
very smart.
flags here because... Yeah, no.
Yeah, I've never met people who feel the need to prove their nationality more than those people.
As far as the Proud Boys go, I'm going to leave it up to the listener to look up exactly.
You have homework.
What they are. Look up the thing on YouTube on Vice News. Just put Vice News Proud Boys.
Okay.
And it's all here in Miami. They. It's so hard watching.
Is that you probably went to school with people like that, and grew up in the same
school.
Well, no. But I'm saying that we grew up in the same environment.
Basically, their whole shtick is right. A main part of their shtick is that we came to this country because we were exiled.
Okay.
From communism.
Okay.
When we came to this country, we worked our ass off, right?
Okay.
And nothing was given to us, right?
Okay.
And everybody else that's coming today
is asking for a handout.
Asking for a handout, right?
Mm-hmm.
And look, obviously, I see this as a very extreme,
right.
And when you start looking at it that way, you see who's who, right? White, European,
right,
and everybody else, indigenous and all that. Because again, which is what they talk about in that report, and we've talked about this a million times, with our people.
Yes.
Because we're Cuban, we can talk about it.
Damn right.
Cubans see themselves as superior from everybody else.
Right. Every other Spanish-speaking country is, except for maybe Spain.
Yeah. Well, no, that's the motherland.
Por eso, except for Spain. Right.
And imagine that on steroids. That thought on steroids. So when I hear them speaking, their rhetoric is not unfamiliar to me at all. I mean, it's not unfamiliar to you at all either.
It's just next level.
Yeah, it's a little bit more extreme and radical.
Right. But that's what I mean. Like you know where they started from.
But their main rhetoric is not. It's like,
we've been hearing it for years. Yeah,
we've been hearing it for years. Cuban exceptionalism. Like we are the best. We are the smartest, most cultured. The sky is bluer in Cuba. The grass is greener. Everything was sweeter.
The water's wetter.
Cubans are the hardest working, smartest people in the world that may have the best doctors. It's the culture. Culture comes from Cuba. Culture was not forget
the Greeks.
Forget the Greeks and the Romans. Culture is from Cuba. The best schools, the best politicians, the best thinkers, the best philosophers, the best in the history of humanity came from Cuba.
Right.
So everybody
so it's nothing
else
new for us.
Is subordinate.
Everyone.
It kind of reminds me. You know what it kind of reminds me? But the thing is that in the movie, it's a joke and they're laughing at it.
Okay.
In My Big Fat Greek Wedding, remember?
Oh, right. They're lampooning it. They're like
when her father. My favorite line is when her father says in Greek to what's his name?
Ian. No,
Ian. When he says, "When your family was hanging from trees, mine were writing philosophy." It's like,
it's that.
Yeah, and I bet Cubans wrote philosophy before the Greeks.
Well, yes, of course.
Even though Cuba didn't exist back then.
But I'm sure you don't know. You didn't know that. You weren't there. You were not there. Listen, as we know, Cubans are everywhere in this world. So you know what? Maybe there was 1 or 2 Cubans in Greece.
Oh my gosh, I'll never forget that one. We were in Santorini. In Santo freaking Rini,
which is like the size of Kendall.
In the Aegean Sea.
Right.
There was a little shop blasting Celia Cruz. Blasting. That it was one of those things because when you hear something so close to you in a foreign land, you're kind of like it's a dog whistle. It's like, wait, did I hear somebody say azúcar? Did I hear Celia Cruz in Greece? What was that?
We're everywhere, baby.
As I sniff on this Albisa candle. Yes. Thank you, Albisa. We got our Albisa candles, our guest from last week.
Oh my God.
Who does the wonderful candles. I don't know what that woman did.
I told you wizardry.
I'm pretty sure there's a pan cubano inside this candle.
She just melts the pan cubano down and then shapes it into wax. A candle.
Yeah, that's what she does. We got your secret.
That's it. We gave your secret away. Done.
So actually, now that we're talking about politics and voting and all that, you know how you always hear about voter suppression?
Yes.
And some people say that voter suppression is a problem, and other people say it doesn't exist, right? So let me give you an example of voter suppression. So as you guys know, one of the things this year is that the whole controversy with mail-in voting. Mm-hmm. Now, mail-in voting has always existed. It's
since the Civil War?
Yes. The president has even voted mail-in vote. I did a mail-in vote when I was in Michigan. Did you do a mail-in vote? Well,
no, because I wasn't up there during election.
Okay. Mail-in voting, there's never really been a problem with mail-in voting. Right. If there have been problems, they've been few and far between.
Right, the exception.
In fact, in the last election, presidential election in 2016, they have to do reports on this. The amount of fraudulent mail-in votes was 0.0003.
Oh, wow.
Let me say that again. The amount of fraudulent votes in the 2016 presidential election were 0.0003.
Okay.
Right? So, but now mail-in voting is a fraud, and there's a whole problem. Right. The reason is for that is because historically more Democrats vote mail-in than Republicans. So, Texas, the wonderful state of Texas, we love Texas. You could get as we said a couple of weeks ago, a really big house with a really big yard in Texas
next
at
to
a
nothing.
Reasonable price. In Texas, the governor passed a law that each county in Texas, which there's 256 counties in Texas, is only going to have one mail-in voting box.
What do you mean? Sorry.
It's going to have each county is going to have only one mail-in voting drop box.
like at one
per county.
Oh, Dropbox. Okay, because I'm like, if I mail it, how is it only one box?
No, because a lot of people get a mail-in vote and they use Dropboxes.
Right. They drop it off. Well, you know what? I think the problem is I know you said it's .003 was the mail-in fraud, but remember that
.0003.
Sorry, but remember in Texas everything is bigger, so maybe there was more fraud there,
or maybe it's gonna be a huge Dropbox,
like the one in Macy's for Santa.
Oh, okay. Oh, this one won't be as festive.
No, I can't imagine it would be.
So one per county.
One
per county. You know, there's some very big cities in Texas. One.
So in other words, if you're going to do a mail-in, you either have to.
I think that the Houston metropolitan area is bigger than the Miami metropolitan area.
Yes, it is.
So imagine
it's
if Miami had one Dropbox.
Wow.
And then they say that voter suppression doesn't exist. So how do you like them apples?
Let me tell you. Mi gente, we know this year's already been plenty scary, but there's always room for ghosts and brujas. This year, the ghouls and goblins are gathering at the Horrorland, South Florida's first 100% drive-through haunted house attraction. On select dates from October 1st through October 31st, Halloween, you can experience 35 chilling minutes across 7 haunted house themes from Alice in Horrorland to Christmas Nightmare. No, hasta la Crisma are getting in on the spooky fun this year. And all from the safety of your car, pa que no te dé la corona. Starting at less than $50 per car, tickets for the Horrorland Drive-Thru Haunted House must be purchased in advance at www.thehorrorland.com. So gather up your wolf pack or your ghoul friends and experience the Horrorland, South Florida's safest, spookiest attraction this Halloween season.
So I read today, switching gears, that Americans over 30 have been drinking more during the coronavirus pandemic.
Yes, we have.
Compared to this time last year, And there could be consequences to their physical and mental health, researchers reported on Tuesday. So let's talk about this.
I don't know what you're talking about. I've been drinking more and you're fine.
Okay, well, I mean, obviously, I wouldn't consider you somebody with a drinking problem.
Fair
You're
enough.
a social drinker, like, most people.
Like most people.
So what
But I have been drinking a little more. Okay, so here's the thing. I guess I'm drinking a little more just because it's like I don't have to drive. You know what I mean? So like
right, but I guess the thing behind it is because you're working from home, right? So
and everything's closed,
right? But you can make an argument how working from home is more comfortable. There's obviously certain comforts to it.
Right.
Versus going into the office. So do you feel more pressure? Do you feel more like cabin fever?
It's more cabin fevery.
Yeah.
It's more, not so much now. I would say that probably when this started more, because when it started, people were doing more of the Zoom happy hours and let's all get together. And, so, everybody was getting together and you would have a drink and then you'd have another drink because again, you're not driving anywhere and you already have the bottle at home. It's not costing you anything. I would say that now the novelty has worn off for me, in the sense of like, I'll have a drink probably even more so than I would in the past, but for the most part during the week, like I would not drink. And now I'm like, well, I'll have a glass of wine on a Tuesday or, a tumbler of whiskey on a Thursday, whereas
tumbler of whiskey.
Yeah. A little tumbler,
What's a tumbler of whiskey?
It's like the little tumbler glass.
Well, that I don't drink, so I don't drink any liquor and I don't drink coffee. But I drink soft drinks.
This is why you and I, this is why we never went out to bars, because it was just like...
listen, I could take down a mean... Bueno, I've told you, I can... What is exceptionally kind of surprising in me, as you know, I could take alcohol like an Irishman.
No. Yeah, you have a huge tolerance. You just don't like it. So yeah, it's not even that...
Because I must admit, when I went to that... A couple of years ago when you were still in New York, that we went to that party at one of your friend's house. Yeah. That was like, you know what? Tonight,
I'm gonna drink.
show you that I can drink. And I drank and drank and drank and drank and drank,
Yep.
and I barely had a buzz.
Yeah.
Mientras que tú were like, oh my God.
Yeah.
You were like,
I was 3 sheets and then some.
yeah. And I was like, okay, do it out.
Well, you're also built bigger than I am.
Whatever. But, So, yeah. So, apparently, there's going to be a lot of... I know, when this whole pandemic is over, there's going to be like, okay, people... I think being a dietitian is probably going to be...
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Substance abuse counselors. Probably.
Personal trainer.
A personal trainer, probably. Foreclosure defense. So let's gear up for that.
Divorce.
Divorce, evictions.
What else?
Oh my gosh, Florida is they're lifting up the eviction moratorium.
Oh, really? When?
I think
En estos días?
November 1st.
Oh, wow.
That is going to be a really big problem. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
That is going to be a really big problem for somebody. I mean, foreclosure defense is different, but I did a lot of foreclosure defense after the housing crisis. This whole thing is going to be a shit show for everybody involved. For everybody involved. Because when you evict someone, so for our listeners who, well, I'm sure everybody knows, most states during the coronavirus had an eviction moratorium.
Right.
So you couldn't, if you had a tenant, you couldn't sue them for eviction. You couldn't evict them.
If they couldn't pay rent, essentially they could stay.
And I'm totally for that. I'm totally
This
for
is a
that.
situation that
100%
warranted
for
something.
that. But there's two sides to everything.
Yeah, the bank still wants my payment.
Yeah, and
Because listen, I have 2 apartments, and luckily both of them are Section 8.
Yeah, there's several people that came to our office who were private landlords que tenían una casita, un apartamento that they were renting, and they were private, they were
Like,
retired.
what do I do? Yeah.
And that was their income. And I remember there was this woman that we told that to, and she started to cry. And she's like, but this is where I make my income. This is where I buy my groceries and stuff like that. That was her income. So, it's going to be a shit show because now the dockets are going to be clogged. And then landlords are not going to get the money.
The back rent.
They're not going to get it. So they're probably going to have to evict the person and spend the money evicting them.
Person,
And the person getting evicted is not going to be able to pay.
Right.
Because now this has been going on for 6-7 months. I mean, with how much rent is a month, the average person cannot pay the backlog.
Yeah, most people can't pay.
So let's say
most people can't pay month to month.
Let's say that your rent was $1,000, which it's not. It's more.
Pero bueno.
So are you going to pay $7,000 in back rent?
De un golpe.
De un golpe? No. You probably can't even pay it as an installment plan. Because if you could have at least paid $1,000, you would have paid it.
Right. No, or if you could have paid less, you probably would have gone to the landlord and been like, listen, I can't pay $1,000, I can pay $200.
So it's one of those things that, that is going to be a really big problem.
No, I can't. Yeah.
And it doesn't really have a solution. It's just, you're going to have to grunt and bear it. So, ¿qué me dices?
Well, I have something that I want to... I feel like I know how you are going to feel about this,
No,
but
you don't.
But I will ask anyway. So, some of you may know, this week, John Legend and Chrissy Teigen suffered not even a miscarriage, because I think that she actually had to have the baby.
Yeah.
And the baby died.
Yeah. Was that the case? I thought it was a miscarriage.
Well, I'll get to it. So, she had been having a lot of vaginal bleeding, so she went to the hospital and what have you and whatever. So today they announced that it was, I think they're calling it a miscarriage, but the thing is that, so the issue I have, I don't want to get ahead of my issue because it ties into the reason that I think it was a stillbirth type of situation. Mm-hmm. As you know, Chrissy Teigen can't exist unless she's telling the world everything that happens.
Are you going to say that they named the baby?
No.
Okay.
So this is clearly a very traumatic experience. And everybody processes trauma differently. Like we've seen many times where, a person is killed and then it's like, oh, the husband has to have been the guilty one because he's not grieving properly, right? And it's like, no, everybody does it differently. However, when this happened, did not just really do like a press release. There is, for lack of a better word on my part, what I will consider to call essentially a photo shoot that they released. A black and white picture of her on the bed in mid-cry. Another one of her and John in the hospital bed holding what looks like a baby wrapped in a blanket.
Is this on their social media?
I don't know if it's on their social media. I saw it on EW.
Okay.
And there's another picture that I can't think of what it is right now. They're all black and white. They're all, I don't want to say they look staged because I'm sure that they were in the moment. But again, I'm
seeing it.
You're seeing it. But it's you know, it's a photo shoot. I mean, I'm sorry for lack. You know what? You can call me callous. You can call me cruel. You can call me whatever you want. To me, these pictures look like a photo shoot at what should be.
I'm looking at them. Okay, I'm looking at them.
During what should be one of the most or what is, because it is a tragic event for them. I am not taking away from that.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like she did have a stillborn, which, I mean, I think that
kills you.
Yeah, it's a stillborn.
I mean, a miscarriage is hard enough on a couple. A stillborn, that has to tear you up. I am a very ironically, anybody who's followed me on Instagram will be like, really? I'm actually a very private person when it comes to posting certain things on social media. Except your chest. as many shirtless pictures and me in skimpy bathing suits and whatever that I post on my personal, like, I'm not the guy to post things like when my grandfather passed away, I didn't post a thing. I didn't, because for things that are meaningful like that, that's private. That's for me.
So here, okay, so I'm gonna argue both sides of it.
I find that whole thing. It's one thing to do a press release to be like, this happened to us. Thank you for your well wishes. Respect our privacy. To me, quite frankly, that seems tacky.
So I'm gonna first of all, I'm gonna argue both sides of it. I've sort of been in that situation, so I certainly appreciate the trauma behind it. I would say that maybe she is doing it to show people, especially women who've gone through that even her, like, look, she's a celebrity, she's rich and famous, that it hurts the same, and that, you're not alone, right? She's using her celebrity and her platform to support women and be like, we're all in this together. Right.
But is the loss of a baby really something that has a stigma? Well, I mean, we're not talking about seeking mental health.
No, but it's something that's very traumatizing. And you know that there is a certain power to being a celebrity. And I think that when whatever it is, whether it's a miscarriage or a breakup, or when something happens to you that's not good, and you hear that it happens to a celebrity, sometimes it's a little comforting in a way, because we in our culture, we kind of see celebrities as like demigods, like, they're rich and powerful and all that. A lot of people do that. A lot of people do. So it's kind of relatable that it's like, oh my gosh, that person is going through the same thing I'm going through, right? What I find a little bit disturbing with them and what I just saw on Instagram, as you said, are the pictures. I mean, they're holding in one the baby, which obviously the baby died. Right. There's one of her crying, and I think that I think there's a difference between sharing and sharing.
Right.
You as a celebrity, I think, can share certain personal aspects of your life, like behind the scenes stuff and all that.
And like you said, to destigmatize certain things.
See my husband, see my kids, see my house. Right. But there's certain things you just don't share. Right?
Right. I agree.
And I think that in what I just saw, that's where I'm like,
I find it tacky.
You just took one of the most
intimate moments.
Private,
stressful,
terrible times, and you posted it on your social media. That's like, I don't get when people on social media post pictures of a dying relative.
Right.
I've actually seen people post on social media pictures of funerals.
Yeah, that's weird.
Or people that, and again, each family has their different customs.
Right.
I've seen so much people, like, on the anniversary of the death of somebody, they'll go and take a picture of them in the
the tombstone.
The tombstone, and take a picture like of the kids, of the grandkids.
Yeah,
and,
like everybody stand by.
Right.
Like they're at Disney World with Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, I don't get that.
Right.
Because especially on the date somebody died, because you're kind of celebrating that day.
It's weird.
And that's not a day that you should celebrate. But everybody's different. To each their own. I do agree that the pictures are a little bit too much.
That was my problem. That if they want to release a statement and maybe put a picture of like, you know, a close up of them holding hands with her with the hospital band on, you know, something like that. But I mean, it's
because it makes me feel
it makes it look staged.
Like in the pictures that she has on her Instagram, there's pictures of her with a doctor, pictures of her and John holding the baby, pictures of her just crying. So does she have like a foot? So there's pictures in all aspects.
And
like,
this is a hospital during COVID, by the way.
Right, in the whole spectrum
right.
of it. So and
they
John,
were just documenting
because I was going to say, oh, maybe John took the pictures, but John is in 2 of the pictures.
Right.
So I'm like, did you have a photographer there? Like, right. I
find it distasteful. Again, everybody mourns in their own way, and everybody does their own thing. But I guess this answers my question that if a tree falls in the wood and Chrissy Teigen isn't there to take a picture of it, was it even planted?
Well, but I mean, that's the culture that we live in. This is the Kardashian world.
Yes, and I criticize it all the time.
This is something they would do. Like,
I'm surprised that Kris Jenner may have taken the pictures.
I was about to say, que extraño that we haven't seen the Kardashians giving birth. And I'm like, oh, yeah, we have. I saw when Kourtney took the baby out when she was like...
I'm sure we've seen all of them.
She bent over and just pulled it out, you know?
If Kris Jenner could time travel and record the birth of her daughter, she would.
Yeah, this is the Kardashian world we live in. Yeah, I think the pictures are a little too much.
That's where I draw the line.
Do you know what reaction it's been getting?
Not really. I just saw on Entertainment Weekly, you know, when they posted like... Because again, the headline on Entertainment Weekly, it was a picture of them like, you know, at an event. It was just, you know, them on a red carpet or something, and it says, you know, Chrissy Teigen and John Legend lose baby or what have you. So I clicked on it and I was like, ay, la pobre. Again, I'm like, coño, la pobre, because that's horrible. And as I'm scrolling down to read, you know, because they tell you what happened, but then they give you the background. And I'm looking at the pictures and I'm just like, pero did this woman have like her Brits at her, you know, in her hospital room to take these, you know, tasteful yet tragic pictures?
Somebody posted here. I'm looking at the
on her
comments.
page.
Yeah, and you felt it acceptable to post this on social media platform? Shameful. Let's see what people put.
Again, I know everybody mourns differently, and I see what you're saying about, you know, making people feel like you're not alone in this. But I return to what I was saying. I do not think that this is a topic that people feel stigmatized about necessarily.
They do.
A stillborn? I mean, that's not something you can control.
Not stillborn, but of losing a pregnancy. Because losing a pregnancy, you know, and that's something I could sort of relate to. Losing a pregnancy is something that is very... I mean, it's very traumatic, and as the pregnancy goes along,
the further along, of course,
more and more and more, because, you know, whereas you hear your heartbeat, then you don't. Then, you know, the stages of pregnancy.
As it grows, yeah.
You know, as it grows. Okay, now you can feel it kicking. Now you can't. You know, right. Now you know.
It's sitting on your bladder.
It's certain, you know, you're 5-6 months pregnant. Mm-hmm. Now you're already getting the nursery together and doing a baby shower.
Yeah, it's not just the baby in your stomach, it's everything else.
So there's stages to it. And obviously, the more evolved and the higher the stage, the even bigger the trauma is. And in her case, it was a stillborn. So, you know, It's a terror. It's one of the worst things. I mean, I think most people agree with me that I think that the worst thing somebody can go through is the loss of a child. So this is, you know, especially in her situation, it's no. I don't think it's any different. You know, especialmente like when you're about to give birth, la ilusión que tú tienes of your baby.
Oh no. As I agree with everything you're saying. As a mother,
so what you're saying is there a stigma about it? Yeah, there is, because it's a terrible time that you feel alone. You feel nobody understands your pain, even though you know that other people have gone through that.
Okay, but when somebody loses a baby, be it miscarriage or stillborn or whatever, it is not the same as when you are, and I know these are not comparable, but go with me. It's not the same as when somebody says they're an alcoholic. When you say you're an alcoholic, people automatically assume it's your fault because you don't know when to stop.
No.
That's what I mean by destigmatizing.
No, but there's not a stigma insofar that, you know, it's like, well, what did you do to cause a miscarriage?
But that's what I mean. Like,
but you do feel alone, and you feel,
of course,
you know, at that specific moment, you feel like that nobody is feeling your pain. You know, nobody feels your pain like you do at that moment. So I agree with you that I think that she could have handled that in a more discretionary way. You know, she could have posted something. It could have been a video, you know, hey, you know, John and I, this happened to us. And,
right.
you know, we need some time to recover from this.
Also,
and, you know,
it happened today and I posted today.
I'm sending out,
like,
you know.
Time didn't even pass.
I'm sending out my love to all the women who have gone through this.
Right.
I feel you, you know, we're in this, you know, something like that. Yeah, the pictures are a little bit too much. I think the pictures are a little bit too much. But again, it's the Kardashian world we live in. If it doesn't happen on social media, did it happen? You know?
No, you're right.
It's just with her. I know Chrissy
You know that
Teigen,
I don't care for her.
Chrissy Teigen, you know, is an oversharer on social media. Clearly. But the thing with Chrissy Teigen versus the Kardashians is that Chrissy Teigen does sort of actually have a gig.
Yes,
you know?
yes.
She was a model. She is a host.
She has cookbooks.
She has cookbooks. You know, she is married to John Legend. They are kind of like a power couple.
Right.
So she does have some substance.
There's something there.
Yeah, I do agree that her social media has kind of elevated her to the next point, to the next level. But there is something there, whereas the Kardashians didn't.
She has a skill.
Right. The Kardashians were, you know, famous for being
they're famous for being famous.
Well, yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, yes.
So, I mean, again, it goes with what I said a minute ago. I think that if you're a public person or a private person, because nowadays with social media, we're all public figures to a certain extent.
Yeah, yep.
I love how on Instagram,
we're all a brand, baby.
There's people with like 300 followers that say, "Oh, I'm a public figure." And I'm like, well, you have a healthy
dose of self-confidence, as a friend of ours would say.
So, yeah, I think there's a difference between sharing and sharing. And
well, that's why I say, like, I'm the perfect example of it, because, like, again, I'm always, you know, in little shorts and swimsuits and shirts, but that's not, you know what I mean? Like, that's not personal. That's almost a caricature. It is.
Your caricature should have a name.
What should my caricature be? Should that be like a contest for our listeners?
No, we don't want to do that to them. We don't want to do that to them. Tú sabes que tengo ganas de comerme ahora. You know what I would totally have right now?
You said that so sincerely.
A sandwich.
Un sandwich.
The sandwich.
De sandwich.
Yeah, but I'm not driving all the way over there.
Well, they're closed by the time we're recording this, so you'd be so disappointed.
We love our friends at Sandwich.
We do.
They really are the best sandwich.
They're so good.
They really are.
And I don't just mean the sandwich, just them.
No, them, but...
Like everything. Like I literally one day, and I texted them afterwards. It was like at the beginning of the pandemic, more or less, and I was just having a totally shit day. Mm-hmm. And I was on my way back from something, and I was like, you know what? Hace rato que yo no voy y no me como un sándwich de sandwich. And I got off I-95, and I went there, and like I got there, and Rosa, one of the owners, she was there, whatever. And we just started talking to her and talking, and you know, and he was there también in the back, and afterwards I was just like, I feel happier now, just by having been like in that good vibe.
You know,
presence.
I have to say that maybe it's something that's come with age. I've learned to like really appreciate Cuban sandwiches and medianoches in the last like 5 or 6 years.
Oh yeah,
no, more like 10 years when I opened up my office in Hialeah.
Oh well, that'll do it.
Because when I opened up my office in Hialeah, there was a little Cuban little shop like right next to it that they used to make medianoche sandwiches, but this was like amazing, like
drenched in butter.
Yes, it was. I'm like, this is the best medianoche sandwich I've ever had. I gained like 10 pounds eating medianoche sandwiches every day, and that kind of like me extendió, because before with Cuban sandwiches.
But you don't like when the bread's too hard either.
I don't like when the bread is too hard either. That is why I love sandwich. That's why I tell him, you know, aside from the fact that everything else, like his ham is like, their ham is like the best quality and all
like
that.
Everything, yeah.
But their bread is like not like a brick. But
well, I know you're hungry, but are you also thirsty?
Oh, well, yes. It's time for our soda.
It's time for the last sodas. So I don't know if you want to go first.
No, you can go first.
So I'm going to give my last soda to Amy Carrero. Do you know who Amy Carrero is?
Dime.
Some of our listeners may know her better as Elena of Avalor.
Oh, yes.
She is the voice of Disney's first Latina princess. She's also the voice of She-Ra on Netflix's She-Ra. She was Sophia on Young and Hungry. She is a Miami girl. Also, some of us Miami people know her better from starring in the Shit Miami Girls Say video.
Oh, yes.
She's a homegirl, true and true.
I'm just going to FIU.
That was her. That was totally her. But the reason I'm giving her the last soda is because about a week ago or so, she posted this on her Instagram page. And I'm going to repost it on ours as well. But I think it shows an insight from somebody who is from South Florida, is Latina, and kind of understands things in a way that other people may not when they look at South Florida from a political perspective. And this is all a quote from her. Quote, Democrats are never going to win the Florida Latinx vote until they understand, and this is all in capitals, trauma. Some Latinx conflate socialism/communism with authoritarianism because that's how many of the government leaders they fled got power. They promised socialism and delivered dictatorships. So when some folks hear free healthcare, free education, they hear we are plotting a government takeover of society. They are triggered, end quote. And I thought that was a very interesting insight that she had into the political mind of, not all Latinos, of course, but of some Latinos who the knee-jerk reaction is always to say, eso es socialismo, eso es comunismo.
Welcome to my life.
Yes, I know, but she so eloquently put it into like 5 lines, and I just so I want to give her the last soda for that.
It's funny because whenever people have asked me that question, I take it personal.
Which question? Sorry. Why are you a Democrat?
Why are you a Democrat? Because Democrats are socialists.
Okay.
I take it personal because it's like, first of all, nobody loves freedom and understands freedom in the Constitution and is a pro-American and American values and capitalism more than me.
Listen, people, we have sponsors. We're capitalists.
Like, I love it, capitalism. I mean, there's certain aspects of capitalism that you can make an argument like,
nothing's perfect.
Are like sometimes a little unfair, but I'm totally free market, totally capitalism. I totally believe in freedom of all sorts. You're talking to the guy here that like believes that very rarely should speech ever be censored,
right,
even if it's speech that I find offensive,
right?
But second of all, but most importantly, I, like many people, I grew up listening to the
rhetoric,
struggle of my parents, of everything that my parents went through in Cuba, how they were traumatized, how, things were seized, how people were killed and executed and murdered. My uncle's a political prisoner. How on earth would I ever, politically speaking, be
a communist,
a communist or a socialist, but be akin to or be pro something that they fled and millions of people fled? Like, how would I ever support something like that?
Right.
Like, as a human being, I would never. Right. So, like, it's just incredible to me that people have accepted that rhetoric without asking any questions. Como que yo venga y te diga, the sky is green, and you say, oh yeah, it's green.
Right.
Like, with no questions.
Right.
Like, oh yeah, that's what it is. So now, because, and if you notice, this is an argument we're having about more now.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking about this now more because it's been used to weaponize, certain people in the right have been using it to weaponize and trigger Cubans and Venezuelans.
Right.
I understand that the moment somebody hears socialism, it's a dog whistle.
It's what I said.
It pits you in the stomach.
Right.
I get that, and I get why they will. But to make it very clear, they're talking about wealth. They're talking about socialism as to the welfare state. I don't agree with socialism as to the welfare state. Right. I agree in socialist programs or like social security and things like that. But they're specifically talking as to the welfare state. They're not talking about socialism as to a form of government.
Right.
But they have used them as scapegoats to Democrats are socialists. Right?
Right.
And now this is a conversation that we have to have. So yeah, she spoke about it very beautifully and very well put.
So thank you, Amy Carrero. Actually, it's funny because she spells her name Aimee. So whenever I see it, it's always Aimee.
Aimee.
It's Aimee. To me, she's Aimee Carrero. Sorry.
Well, I'm gonna be short and sweet. I'm gonna give my last soda to Chris Wallace because he needs one.
Oh God.
He needs a bottle of whiskey.
A bottle. Get him one of those barrels that they show in the commercials.
And I'm just gonna leave it there.
Yes, that's all.
There's not much more to say.
Not much more to say. Really, we said it all earlier.
Yeah. So on that note, everybody, we hope you listened, laughed, and learned. Everybody have a great weekend.
Yes.
Grab your pastelito, your croqueta, and your cafecito. And thank you for joining us. That was episode 129. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Right, cuídense, mi gente. Bye. Pero Let Me Tell You is co-hosted by Darian Borges and Ismaeliano, produced by Ismaeliano, and our theme, Pero Let Me Tell You Freestyle, is composed by Michael Angelo Lomlaplex, the official gay guy. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes.